Hi, this is Stacy. I actually did an entire video talking out everything and realized that YouTube wasn't recording my face. It was just recording my voice. So we're going to try it again and hope that I do better than I did last time. Hi. I'm looking at my outline, so if you're wondering what I'm doing, that's what I'm doing. What isn't covered in Aquafornia is a lot. There are other sources of water, other issues involved. Colorado River water. Colorado originates up in the upper I think of Colorado, yeah, and comes down past Nevada and Arizona and California and then to Mexico. And that river has been litigated. In other words, everybody wanted to determine what rights everybody had to the river. And California has the right to take 4.4 million acre-feet of water from the Colorado River if it's available. And there are three agencies that take that water. It's Metropolitan Water District, the Imperial Irrigation District, and Coachella Valley Water District. Metropolitan Water District is a wholesale provider of water for great swaths of Southern California. However, in our local area, they are not our wholesale provider. San Bernardino Valley Municipal Water District, not to be confused with the City of San Bernardino Municipal Water Department, provides wholesale water for our area. And that's because of a vote that was taken by the City of San Bernardino and the people saying that they didn't want to be a part of Metropolitan Water District because they felt that they would probably be bearing more of the cost than the agencies that had been in Metropolitan for some time. The Aquafornia overview also doesn't really talk about local agencies, and so I want to cover them a little bit and let you know the players in our area. So the City of San Bernardino Water Department provides retail. We're a retail agency, meaning we deal directly with customers. San Bernardino Valley Municipal Water District, as I said, was established under the Water District Act and is the wholesale provider of water for this area. They have a contract with the state project, which is administered by the Department of Water Resources. And the Department of Water Resources determines every water year, which oddly starts in October and ends at the end of September. They determine every water year whether or not the full allocation is available. So San Bernardino Valley Municipal Water District has a contractual right to 102,600 acre-feet of water per year, but if the Department of Water Resources determines that they can't provide that full allocation, they provide a percentage. So for example, last year I think the allocation went up to 15% from 10%. So the state project water available to our area last year was about 10,000 acre-feet, not 102,600 acre-feet. So there's also another retail water agency in our area. They serve 1/3 of the City of San Bernardino and Highland, and that's East Valley Water District, another district established by the Water District Act, but it is not a wholesaler, it's a retailer. I told you there were a lot of people involved in this. Another agency that deals with water in this area, which you wouldn't really sort of think about, is the flood control districts. The flood control districts, when there's a big inundation of stormwater, are concerned with making sure that there's no harm to people in their homes. So they try to get stormwater out as fast as possible, but we argue you need to keep it in there and let it recharge the basin if it's available. I mentioned that San Bernardino, my agency, provides domestic water for the City of San Bernardino, at least 2/3 of it. And we also provide wastewater treatment for San Bernardino, Highland, and Loma Linda. Another agency that sort of is local is the West Valley Water District, and they're located in Rialto. They provide retail water for 2/3 of the City of Rialto, and the other third is provided by the City of Rialto. City of Rialto also does their own wastewater, and so it gets very complicated, like who's managing all this stuff? And I think that's part of the frustration of the governor, frankly, that there are just so many entities involved in water management. You almost can't control the outcome. So, overview of California water policy very quickly. The things that have driven policy in California, first and foremost, at the beginning of 1849, the miners came and you need water to mine for gold. So they staked claims, and so California's water system is in part based upon mining law, weirdly. And they used to measure water by miners' inches, which I really don't even understand how they calculate it, but it's a certain amount of cubic feet per second volume. So mining was important. Then also the southern part of California has always suffered from scarcity. Northern part of California always has a lot of, or has had a lot of water in the past. And of course there's that dynamic where Northern California says, you're stealing our water for your pools. There's a little tiny bit of truth to that, but frankly, Southern California has been really active in conserving water. Sorry. Okay, so the other thing that's sort of driving policy is agriculture. Agriculture really uses the most water in this state. Nobody else. Interestingly enough, the governor's proclamation, which I said, I think in one of my comments, was 35% reduction. It's not. It's 25% reduction. Apologize. But he doesn't touch agriculture, which is interesting. So many people, urban users, are complaining because the farmers have not been required to reduce. Also tourism. Tourism is one of our big economic drivers in the state of California, and want to make sure our water, lakes and streams and stuff like that, are attractive to tourists. There also was a law passed, I think in the late 1990s. Sorry, I'm just bouncing all around. It's known as AB 3030, which is what it was an assembly bill, but it's now been codified into law, and I don't know what the codification number is. But AB 3030 was a groundwater management act that was passed. Didn't really cover a lot, and it wasn't mandatory. So right now the issue is that the State Water Resources Control Board has historically only had really two responsibilities. One was to provide decisions on rivers, river appropriation. So they issued permits. They issue permits to people on the river, and that's their allocation, or their right. And then they also have responsibility for broad policy issues governing wastewater. Currently, there is no agency that manages the state's groundwater. And this gets us back to who owns water. Well, I'll tell you who owns the water in this state. It's the state of California. And water agencies who use the water they have what's called a usufructuary right, which means you have to put it to use, and you have to put it to something called beneficial use. You can't waste water. If you waste your water, your right will be taken away from you. So the state of California owns groundwater, and yet there's no real overall state management agency for groundwater. The groundwater has really just been litigated among the local agencies that depend on whatever aquifer you're talking about. So who owns wastewater? It's the treatment plant that treats it. The section in the water code definitely says we own it if we treat it. However, decisions by the State Water Resources Control Board have in the past tweaked that a bit, in that if you're discharging water from your wastewater plant, keep in mind it's really high quality water. I mean, it meets drinking water standards, but you can't really drink it. And I think Letitia identified, you know, the yuck factor. I mean, that's what we're always talking about in what wastewater recycle use, is can we get people to overcome the yuck factor. But the wastewater ownership may be affected by people downstream who are putting the water to beneficial use. And so the tension here is whether you, as the wastewater agency, can withdraw the water and do something with it, reuse it, or are you obligated to continue to discharge for the benefit of legal users downstream? Also, the environment. Interestingly enough, my wastewater plant, which is located in Colton, is called the Rapid Infiltration and Extraction Facility, and it's a tertiary level treatment plant. And we discharge from our RICS facility. Incidentally, if anybody ever wants a tour of all of our facilities, I'm happy to do it. When we began discharging from that plant in 1996, the water quality from the plant was so high that it drew all of this endangered species called the Santa Ana sucker into the area where we discharge. And now we're struggling with the United States Fish and Wildlife over whether or not we can stop discharging as much as we have in the past and put to reuse some of the water in our own basin. It's a long story. But if you're interested in the Santa Ana sucker, just Google it and my name and you'll see all sorts of stuff that we've been involved in, and we're currently litigating against the United States Fish and Wildlife Service. So an overview of California water law really quickly. In 1849 and 1900, water was important for mining, so the laws that govern mining were really the ones that were put in place for water. And then we began to develop a hybrid system after that. 1914, extremely important date. That is the date at which the State Water Resources Control Board began to issue licenses for water. So you will notice references to pre-1914 rights, and what that really means is that the agency before 1914 had a right in a stream and the State Board had to recognize it. After 1914 there are licenses and permits, so it's much more clear who owns what. 1928, the doctrine of reasonable use, as in no waste, or you must put it to beneficial use, began to govern water rights. 1950 to 1980, really talking about everybody is trying to adjudicate groundwater basins and surface water. And so those battles were fought out. In 1969, major water rights decisions in this area were rendered. Actually, they weren't rendered. It was subject to a settlement, basically. Everybody got together and did what's called a physical solution. So you'll see references to physical solutions, and we have one active in this area. And then finally, in 1980, really the focus moved more to environmental considerations, fish, Mono Lake, and the public trust doctrine, which really says that water agencies owe a public trust and must make sure that they don't hurt environmental interests. So that's kind of the evolution of water rights, etc. Now, interesting in my opinion, water rights have pretty much been determined in the state, and they're somewhat uninteresting. But the real challenge now is who owns wastewater. As I said, it's a little bit conflicted. And can you take your wastewater, which in the past has been sort of deemed a nuisance, can you take your wastewater and reuse it and potentially affect the environment? So those are some issues I think you should sort of pay attention to. If you have any issues that you'd like me to talk about, please let me know. I'm happy to do them. And I hope you're doing well, and I hope you're going to enjoy the class. Take care.